so much. How is your day, and are you excited for this presentation today?
Sure, I am. I just want to know, did you guys get my PowerPoint?
Yes,
Did you guys receive my PowerPoint?
hello,
Hi,
Dr.
how are
Sharon.
you?
How are you? Yes, we have
Okay,
received. Very
you're
good, thank
welcome.
you.
I'm ready
Yes, so
whenever
before you
you
start,
are.
yeah, before you start your presentation, I would like to give a brief introduction to the audience. So, welcome, Dr. Sharon, to the stage. She has already came our conferences previously, and she will work with us for our future conferences as well, which is going to happen in March 8 and 9, 2024 in Paris, France. Thank you so much for your continuous support to these conferences, Sharon.
You're welcome.
So, Dr. Sharon Arrindell, a native of Jamaica, West Indies, is the president CEO of Inspired Wholeness Enterprise, the umbrella for Inspired Wholeness School, Wholeness Counseling and Coaching Services, and Inspired Wholeness Ministries. She speaks virtual or in person and has spoken in the US, the Caribbean, Paris, and Spain. She has authored 8 books, including her world bestseller, Outward and Victorious, the sequel to her first biographical piece, Weapons from Victory. She has been featured in several magazines, including New York City. Her faith-based relationship building counseling service offers pre-marriage, marriage, and divorce case solutions. She also established a coaching program for single women, the waiting room based on the dream. She is married to her green wife, and combined they have 5 children and 10 grandchildren. Visit her at www.inspiredwholenesscounseling.com. Thank you so much. It was a wonderful introduction by Dr. Sharon. You can start your presentation. The stage is all yours. Good luck.
Thank you. Um, Hello everyone, and welcome to me, Dr. Sharon. And tonight I'm talking about the mind. I was waiting for the PowerPoint to come up so that I could just jump in and start speaking. Tonight I'm talking about mental software renewal. And, we talk about the mind and we understand that the mind is something that we don't want to waste. And so tonight I'm talking about what are you downloading to your mind. And one of my favorite speakers, one of my favorite people, Dr. Caroline Leaf, she says the mind is 99% of who we are. So if the mind is 99% of who we are, then that's where everything gets attacked, is in our mind. And so tonight, I wanted to share um, some things about the mind, and I wanted to utilize what I came up with and some of my favorite parts, my favorite quotes about the mind are on this PowerPoint. If you guys could just help me out, I just need the next slide for the PowerPoint to keep moving. Um, I wanted to share some of my favorite quotes, but it's not happening right now. So hold on one second, everyone. I'm having technical difficulties. So let me just see if I can fix it on my end, but I cannot. Um, okay, so I'm unable to fix my PowerPoint, so I'm just going to do this from what I recall. And what I recall is one of them was the mind is a terrible thing to waste. The mind is where everything happens. If somebody is digging into your mind, they're digging into the core of who you are. And we could go on and on and on about the mind and all the things that happen in the mind. And I'm still trying to share this PowerPoint with you because it has everything that I want to talk about tonight. But technically, I could just talk about the mind because that's what I do. I am a mental health therapist and I do it from a Christian point of view. Faith-based is what I do. And so I wanted to really jump in and talk about all the different parts of the mind and what happens in the mind and all of that. But I cannot do it the way I wanted to. So just bear with me because the mental software is what I wanted to talk about. When I was during COVID, I had to switch gears. I had to switch gears as a result of everything that was happening. My practice went towards virtual. Everything was happening virtual. And I am not a tech savvy girl. I'm proving it tonight. But I had to switch gears and change my entire computer. My laptop was going very, very slow. I couldn't get anything to upload. And so somebody had to come in. I needed tech support. They had to come in and help me and fix what was going on with my computer. And so as a result of that, I started seeing when I turned on my computer, I jumped because everything was going so fast. It was going quickly. Everything. I was used to waiting. I would be able to get up, go to the bathroom, do all kinds of things before my laptop would load. And so all of a sudden, when I pressed the button, everything was loading and it was loading quickly. It was loading really, really fast. And so I had to learn how to understand that when you delete and when you let go and when you download and upload and all the loading that we do, it becomes your computer even becomes toxic and it becomes kind of sick. It starts moving slow. It starts not doing what you want it to do. And so tonight we're talking about that. We're talking about that as it pertains to the mind and as it pertains to all the mental things that we allow to go into our minds. And so sometimes we need to delete. And so what are some things, if I could ask a question, what are some things that you have allowed to take up residence in your mind that needs to be deleted? There is a picture on this PowerPoint. I'm sorry, I'm not able to share it, but I have a picture in my office and it has all these different things coming out of the person's head space, all of these different things just flying everywhere. And that's exactly what's happening. I could go back and talk about my own mental software and how I had to reload in order to survive. And it seems like a long time ago. And sometimes when I'm talking about it, it seems like I'm talking about someone else, but it happened in 1999. And I was in my home and getting ready to start a new business. I was a fashion designer at the time, and I wanted to start my store. And I had all these beautiful designs of wedding dresses, evening gowns, because that's what I used to do. That was my thing. All I knew was fashion. I still try to keep up with the fashion world, but I remember vividly standing in my basement and looking outside, and it was raining very hard, and they said it was a hurricane coming to New York of all places. And we were, my children and I, in the basement of our home. And as I looked out the glass door, which was a huge glass door at the time, The water kept going up, 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 up. And I wondered, where in the world would it go when it got to the top? My children were on the stairs, and I was still just standing there wondering. I think I was in shock. And where it went was that it caved right into our home, and it created havoc. I had to run with my children for our lives. Needless to say, it changed the trajectory of my mind. Everything changed on that day. The way I thought changed on that day. And so I had to renew my mind, my mental software. I don't even know where it went. I don't even know if everything that was uploaded was now gone, because I couldn't even think straight, let alone live straight. And so I realized something was happening in my mind. Something had happened in my mind, and life changed. And everything changed for my children and I became a single mom after that. I went back to school after that. And all of those things that I did in order to get my mind back is what you call tech support, right? We call it tech support. We get tech support when we need help with our computers, and we also need tech support when we need help in our minds. And my personal tech support was going back to school. And I went with a vengeance. I just kept going and going and going and going and going. It became therapy. It became tech support for my mind, because I needed to renew my mind. I needed to upload some new software into my mind. I needed a mental recharge. I needed to download in my mind. I needed mental software renewal. And I don't know who is listening to me out there, but mental software renewal requires that you have to understand some of the things that are in your head space that you need to release, that you need to let go of, that you need to compartmentalize in order to think in the way that you need to think. And so tonight I wanted to talk about some of those things. What are those things that either you have downloaded in your mind, or somebody has downloaded it in your mind for you, so that now you're thinking all these negative thoughts, all these negative things, all these negative things are happening in your mindset. And remember, when I started this, I said, Dr. Caroline Leaf says the mind is 99% of who we are. So if it's 99% of who we are, and we're downloading all of this negative stuff, then what we become are negative people. We're now negative people because we have downloaded things that don't need to be in our mind and in the space of our mind. And we could go through and talk about all the things that it says the mind is supposed to be. I mentioned one of them. The mind is a terrible thing to waste. They say the mind, certain things tiptoe through the mind because that's where everything happens. When we go through certain situations, we've seen losses. So many people have suffered losses in the past 3-4 years that like we've never seen before. So now that's downloaded in their minds. And then we suffer through abuse, and that's downloaded in our minds. And we suffer through divorce, and it's downloaded in our minds. And we suffer through loneliness, it's downloaded in our minds. And then we show up, and now we have all of these things that everybody's talking about, like anxiety. We have depression, we have grief. I could run the gamut as far as the different things. And thank you, God, for bringing my PowerPoint on here. and I talked about some of my favorite quotes and different things. A mind is a terrible thing to waste. You either control your mind or it controls you. There is nothing more powerful than a changed mind. If you can believe it, the mind can achieve it. You may think I am small, but I have a universe in my mind. The mind, once enlightened, cannot again become dark. I won't let anyone walk through my mind with their dirty feet. Control your own mind, and you may never be controlled by the mind of another person. The mind is not a vessel to be filled, but a fire to be kindled. Reading is to the mind what exercise is to the body. And there are so many other quotes that I could have put on here, and you can choose ones that apply to you, just allowing certain things to wreak havoc in our minds. And if we could just go to the next slide for me, just go to the next slide so that I could just keep it moving. And so we're loading the wrong software. So we need tech support, like I said before, so that we could, like that picture, everybody is building something in our minds. Look at it, look at it, look at it. And you can look at it and see that in every compartment of your brain, something is being lodged and lodged and lodged. So we need tech support to delete unnecessary information. There is information that needs to be deleted, and we need to press delete. We need to add memory. We need to add speed, just like we do on a laptop or a computer or whatever measure of technology you're using. We need to do that for our mind so that we get our memory bank. Our memory bank. I had to reload my memory bank with new information so that I could literally reinvent who I was and who I am. And if you could go to the next one, that would be great. Thank you for your help out there. And so we get to the next slide, and that's where I have that picture of that headspace with all of this stuff coming out of your head. All of this stuff it's like garbage in, garbage out. And we need to release all of this garbage. We need to let go of all of this garbage that has either been planted in us by us or by something somebody has said, something somebody has done. And we find places in our mind to the point where we become stagnant and unable to move, unable to grow. You become like me after that flood. It took me an entire year to recover my mind, And one of the things that I started doing was just writing. And people ask me all the time, how did you become an author? Well, I didn't start out thinking I was going to be an author. I had spent so much time on the floor, just wallowing in the stuff that had taken up space in my mind, that I wasn't thinking about that. All I thought about was picking up a pen and a piece of paper and just writing. I believe on that day, it was actually a receipt of some kind. And I just turned to the back of it and started writing. I think there was more tears than words, but that's how I started writing. And then writing became another tech support that I was able to use to get my mind back, to readjust and program my mind. And then there is the area of how do we actually get it back? How do we actually get back our mind? How do we actually recover from some of the things that we've had to deal with? And there are so many different ways to recover. I named some of the ways that I was able to recover, but there is help out there, you know. There are so many mental health specialists out there, me and others. We are out there wanting to help. But the thing is, because everybody is thinking, when you have to see a therapist, that means there's something wrong with you. But when you need to see if something is going on physically with you, and it just keeps happening over and over, you end up in the doctor's office because you want to fix that physical thing. That is a physical situation, a physical issue that you need to fix. But when there's something going on in our minds, we don't want anybody to know. So we just keep it to ourselves and we don't go anywhere. We don't get any help. We don't get the mental health help that we need. And so we end up in a place of stagnation sometimes. We end up, I mostly counsel with couples, whether it's pre-marriage, marriage, or divorce care. I get to do that. I get to do that, and I get to do it on a daily basis. And sometimes people come to me after suffering for 30 plus years. Can you imagine? 30 plus years I've been suffering in silence. And then they show up and they say, I need you to fix what's going on with me. And I am sitting on the other side of the table going, oh my goodness, how in the world did you get through this 30 years in silence? There must be a whole lot of mental software that needs to be renewed. And we start on a journey of renewal. And I get to see sometimes people come away from that hole. They call me the wholeness magnet because everything I do is about wholeness. Because I realize from my own experiences and other people's experiences that you can't do anything strategically if you're broken. You can't, you can try, you can fake it. Like they say, fake it till you make it. You can do that, but you can't get through anything broken, because that brokenness keeps coming back at you. Just like these people in the mind, somebody is putting stuff in, somebody is taking stuff out. All of these things are happening on a daily basis, and sometimes you need some assistance to get through it. Well, I happen to be a pastor, right? So it would not be right for me to be sitting here talking to you without mentioning that the person that I seek for renewal first before anything else is God. Some people say universe, spirit, whatever you want to say. I say it's God. And so I utilize some biblical principles. And one of my favorite ones comes from a book of the Bible, Romans chapter 12, verses 1 and 2. I have it on one of my slides here. And it says, I beseech you, brethren, by the mercy, that you present your bodies a living sacrifice, wholly acceptable to God, which is your reasonable service. But this is the one I want you to get. But be not conformed to the things of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. The renewing of your mind. God gets it. He understands that something has to happen in your mind. And there are a bunch of other scriptures, but this is not a church service. But something has to happen in your mind. Mental software renewal for me took place as I memorized stuff like that. Don't be conformed, be transformed. And you ask the question, well, how do I transform? How do I transform my mind so that it's whole again? How do I transform my mind so that I'm not stagnant? You have to change your entire mindset. You have to change everything about what you're thinking. You have to start thinking about things that are lovely, things that are pure, things that are of good report, things that are praiseworthy. You have to think differently. You have to start thinking in a different way in order to achieve mental software renewal. You have to recharge. You have to reboot. You have to delete. You have to upload. You have to download. You have to do this on a daily basis. It does not happen one time, 2 times, 3 times. This is a daily renewal that I'm talking about. I'm talking about daily renewing your mind by the things that you listen to, the things that you allow people to say to you and about you, the company that you keep, the places that you go. Everything about you has to change on a daily basis. And the thing about change is you have to program yourself to literally change. When we want to change the way we look in our bodies, we realize we have to eat differently. We have to sleep. We have to exercise. We have to do all of these things in order to change ourselves physically. But guess what? It's the same process if you want to change mentally. If you want to change in your mind, you have to eat differently as well. Eating, sometimes because we're going through stuff, we start shoving everything in our mouths, everything, because and some people call it comfort food. And it may be comfort food for a moment, but in the long run, it becomes uncomfortable because it makes you sick. And so we also have to exercise. I mentioned exercise. And when you exercise, I used to be an avid jogger. Now I'm an avid walker. I literally ride a tricycle. I never learned how to ride a bike. Y'all could laugh at me if you want to. And this past Christmas, my children thought it was so funny to gift me with a 3-wheeler. And so because I'm a glamour girl, the 3-wheeler is purple. That's my color, my royal color, purple. And I got my helmet bling blinging all through my community. And when I first got on that tricycle, I only got to the corner. And my husband said, "How far did you go? You're sweating bullets." I said, "I only got to the corner. This is not for me. I can't do it." But the next day, I got up and I looked at that tricycle in the garage and I jumped on that tricycle again. And I kept doing it and doing it and doing it and doing it and doing it. Almost 1 year later, I could literally get to 9 miles on that tricycle. But I give that example because that's the same thing we have to do with our minds. We have to tell it what to do. I could have stopped that first day and said, "I'm never doing this again. This is too hard. I'm never doing this again." That would have been a mistake. The tricycle would have won. It's just a thing. But I stayed with it. And just like I stayed with it, you have to stay with your mindset. I walk, I ride, I do pool aerobics. I'm not getting any younger. I'm in my 60s. A birthday's coming. That means I'm going to be 1 year older. And I can't afford to allow anything that comes into my mind that's a negative thought to stay there any longer than it should. So tonight, what am I saying? I've said all of that And I said it all without all of my PowerPoints that I built for this particular series that I talk about often. I said it all to you because I've literally memorized this, right? I wanted you to see pictures and get excited and all of that, but the excitement lies in you actually doing what I'm saying, in you actually saying to yourself, I have to delete that. I have to delete that. I have to upload this. I have to, and going through, you probably need to write it down. You probably need to write it down because I mentioned before that scripture about renewing your mind. And at the back end of it comes knowing and revisiting who you are and who you were created to be. And a lot of times we can't find who we are because of all the clutter that has taken up space in our minds. So my question tonight would be, who are you? Who in the world are you? And I get a lot of answers when I ask that. I get a lot of answers, and for those who are are so churchified, they give me all the churchy answers, all of the answers. I'm blessed and highly favored. I'm this and I'm that, and then I will come back and say, but who does God say you are? Who does He say you are? And then you get silence. You get silence because a lot of times, we didn't really think about that. We just think about the stuff that we do on a regular basis. Who are you, Dr. Sharon? I am Dr. Sharon Arrindell. I have all these degrees. I have been this. I have done that. But who are you? Who are you? And when I sat recently to think about it, who I really am, because sometimes we don't want to think about it, because when we think about who we are, it has to line up with what we're doing. And so sometimes we don't want to think about it, because if it doesn't line up with what we're doing, then we may have to change some things that we're doing. And we don't want to do all of that. So we don't want to think about it. But recently I had to think about that. Seriously, think about that, And every time, I would ask my husband, he hates when I bring him up in any of my topics, but he's out there. And so I would ask him, why'd you marry me? Because we've only been married a short time. You married somebody with a bald head and you like hair. Why would you marry? Why did you marry me? And he always says, without fail, because you're brilliant. And initially, you don't want to, because I'm brilliant, you want to hear that from some professor or some teacher or some, but your husband says, because you're brilliant. And I had to think about that when I was thinking about, who does God say that I am? And I came back with some information after sitting in an empty space in my house for a few hours. I came back. This is my answer that I came back with. I am a reflection of God's brilliance, that to bring hope to the hopeless, that He intentionally created without missing a stitch in the tapestry. And so on tonight, I wanted to end with that. And I wanted to challenge you to go and find out, who in the world are you? And it will require deleting. And so renewing your mind, your body, and your spirit. I have a retreat out there. If you want to attend my retreat for 3, 4, or 5 days, we're going to the beautiful island of Jamaica, where I was born. And if you want to participate in that experience, it's JamaicaBootCampRetreat.com. And so that's where you would go to register for the retreat. If you want to talk to me as a counselor or a therapist, it's inspiredwholenesscounseling.com. If you want to talk to me about being a speaker somewhere, It's drsharonarrindell.com. If you just want to connect with me, just leave a message. Leave a message. If you want me to help you in some other way, just leave a message and I will connect with you as soon as I can. Thank you for listening tonight and have a good evening.
Thank you, Dr. Sharon.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
It was
You're
very
welcome.
inspiring.
My PowerPoints didn't work the way I wanted, but I jumped in, and
You're so
gave
smart.
it what I got.
Yeah, thank you
Yes.
so much for your wonderful speech. We thoroughly enjoyed it. Ladies and gentlemen, that's Sharon Arrindell. Please connect to her. She's a wonderful person. We have been traveling with her from last 3 years. I think she attended our Paris event. She attended our New York event. So she's a beautiful person. You can get in touch with her. So I hope you guys enjoyed this session. So thank you so much, Arrindell.
Thank you so much
You're
for
welcome. You're
all.
welcome. I wish I could answer everybody on this chat, but I love you all. Thank you all for showing up and listening, and I'm hoping that this message was clear. That sometimes we need mental software renewal. Thank you for having me and have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you. So yes, this is the last session. We are closing our day two event WIN Ideas Virtual Summit 2023. We really got a very huge response from all the speakers. Thank you so much for your continuous support for a couple of years. So we do have another event coming up physically in the month of March 8th and 9th, 2024. Already 70 speakers have already registered for that event. That's going to be huge. Since we are expecting around 100 plus members, 100 plus speakers. So if you are interested, yes, please do join our Paris event 2024, which is going to happen on March 8th and 9th. March 8th is Women's International Day.
Thank you.
Thank you. And on behalf of WIN Ideas Global Conferences, we would like to thank each of you for joining us today. Thank you for attending this session. Please remember to complete the 7 goal with us. For each completed goal you have submitted, best speaker will be entered and the finalists for the best speaker will be announced. Thank you so much and good night. Love you. Love you everyone. Bye
Love you
bye.
all. We will be sharing your certificates on Monday, and videos will be following in the following week. Thank you so much. Love you all. Bye. Good night.
Good night, ladies. Good
Signing
night, ladies
off.
and gentlemen. Bye bye. Signing off, Melinda Roy.